We had a specific suite of tools for accounting that we would recommend, but with time we were like, oh, these are not working anymore. Action-based connectors are a nightmare if you have a lot of actions. As soon as someone has a B2C and a B2B type client that use the same website, you have an issue. It was set up, but it wasn't working. Literally, you're sending information into a black box. And with MyWorks, it took us an hour. So basically, you're saving 79 hours.
Hi and welcome. Today we're joined by Katherine from Shopify agency Maze, who will tell us about her experience integrating e-commerce and accounting for her clients. Hey, Katherine, so why don't we start by you telling us a little bit about Maze and also your role there?
Yeah, awesome. So I'm Katherine. I'm the co-founder of Studio Maze Design or Maze. We're a Canada-based Shopify and Klaviyo agency. So we assist brands that are in the e-commerce space or the D2C space that sell online or offline using Shopify POS, for example, as a solution. And so we are experts of UX and CRO. These are our two main disciplines. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We work with a lot of different merchants of different industries, and we help them grow their business online using Shopify.
Awesome. So you told us a little bit about your clients, but could you delve further into that? So their usual size, their main challenges, any particular locations or industries that you serve more than others?
Yeah. I would say 99% of our clients are based in Canada, for a few exceptions in the US, but most of them are based in Canada. We don't really have like a specific industry. We are very much industry agnostic, which is so fun because you get to apply solutions that you found for a client in the flooring to a client in like food and beverage. It's just they have similar problems oftentimes. It's just the solution might need to be adapted to that client, but oftentimes they tend to have overlapping challenges. I would say for the B2C type of clients, we tend to work with merchants that are in the 1 to 5 million GMV, and for the B2B client, the $5 to $10 million GMV. Oftentimes their main challenges is, for our clients specifically, they are oftentimes coming from a very traditional type of business, so no website or a website with no e-commerce functionality. And so it's a good learning curve to be able to get to a point where their e-commerce is their main income source. And oftentimes at their scale, they don't have a specific team or resource that is dedicated to the e-commerce channel. And so they need their processes as simple as possible and as like streamlined as possible, because they don't have someone who is in charge of going every day to fix the things that needs to be fixed on the website. And that's oftentimes where we come in for these type of team. But yeah, their main challenges is like day-to-day operation, automating as many processes as possible, making it simple for the clients to make those online purchases, and eventually get to a point where the e-com is, if not equal to their offline channels or other channels.
And how did the topic of accounting integration come to your consideration? Like, what was the client challenge there?
Yeah, I would say I was thinking back yesterday on that, and accounting has been something top of mind since day one. Honestly, it is a core challenge for every business. If you have a very traditional business, we work recently with a florist that is like very pen and paper type of business. Their accountant has like all these boxes of physical invoices and receipts, and like I was like, wow, that's my worst nightmare, honestly. And so the second you add that like digital aspect to it, you don't have a choice to get get with the program, get on to a very like online digital aspect of doing your accounting. With time, the solutions and the needs of our clients have evolved. We used to be able to just recommend like native integration with QuickBooks to clients that had very streamlined processes, like just one type of customer, just one type of orders, sync it to Klaviyo, not to Klaviyo, to QuickBooks. Everything is streamlined. You don't have to do any changes to the orders. But as time goes on, we work with clients that have more technical needs, different type of clients, the B2B side, the B2C side, like And all of that adds a level of complexity that you need to account for. This is top of mind, something we have a discussion about accounting on every project we take on.
How did you begin the research on how to integrate accounting with e-commerce?
Yeah. I would say the research starts at the very baseline of like what's the software they're currently using, like what are they using, Zero or like QuickBook or other types of solutions. And it often starts like continues with a Google search, like this is my main source of information. And so finding out what are the options available and like being able to benchmark these options together and like compare what are the limitations of the different solutions. The benefits of using specific solutions that we have been using for a long time, like they were few and far in between the drawbacks of using those solutions. So that's why like in the past year we've started like revamping, I would say, our tech stack, because I might mention, I think now is a great time to mention it. As an agency, our core issue is building one tech stack or a very limited suite of tools to recommend. And that's why every year we go to these events and we get pitched a bunch of different apps, and I'm like, I'm listening and I want to understand what's new and what's working for other merchants and other agencies, but it's we need to be a little bit of a gatekeeper in terms of tech stack because we cannot have like a because we need to be able to understand all these tools. So we cannot have like 50 different tools for one need. Like ultimately, we would like to find one tool that does one need very well, that fits one, that solves one problem very well, and be able to recommend that tool to all clients that have the same problem. And so this is where we had a specific suite of tools for accounting that we would recommend, but with time we were like, oh, these are not working anymore for like we have more and more clients that are like, oh, actually I have this specific need, or what would I do in this scenario? And this opened like a door of saying like, oh, actually we need to go back to the drawing board and like figure out, is there a new solution? Maybe the conclusion would have been no, as of right now, this is the best we can do with what we have. But in that specific case, it opened the door to finding MyWorks and other types of tool that do actually do the things we want to get done, and that we don't have to settle for other solution that just don't cut it.
What were the types of things that pushed you to look for specialized integration solutions?
Yeah.
What were the challenges that your tech stack at the time was not dealing well with?
Yeah. There's like two types of things. The first one is different types of clientels. And so, as I've mentioned, as soon as someone has a B2C and a B2B type client that use the same website to make purchases online, you have an issue. Because the more often than not, the B2C client will have prepaid their order. They'll use their credit card in the checkout or different types of method, and they will pay their order right then and there. And so this order needs to be synced to a QuickBook or other software as a sales receipt, like it's already paid for. But like on the flip side, a B2B order is very less often prepaid, and so they have terms of payments and delays and like net 30 or whatever. And so you need to accommodate for that. And oftentimes they may be paid through Shopify, but more often than not with our clients, they will sync the orders as an invoice to QuickBook, and through QuickBook, they will invoice the customer because they are using other payment methods using like check or bank transfer that will lower their fees at the same time. So that's why some of them have the same method, but a lot of them are also using other types of method that are not currently accommodated through Shopify. So even though you could technically like mark the order as paid, it's not as automated to do it this way. Whereas when you're just like syncing it to QuickBook and invoicing through there, you have a clear grasp on if an order is paid for or not, and do the appropriate full follow-ups for these clients. And the second thing is the second you need to do any types of modification to an existing order, you would be delusional to think a you would have a type of business where a customer never reach out because they forgot a discount code, because they actually changed their mind and they want to cancel their order, or it's not the right size or the right color. They thought about it over the weekend and they would like to make an update to their order. The second you have these types of situation, a lot of native connections are not like bi-directional and they're not speaking to each other, and so you would have to do the modification twice, so modifying the QuickBooks side of it and the Shopify side of it, and then you create that nice little snug area of possible human error, that is in accounting and other areas of business not something you want to eliminate as much as possible, and this is not something that you want to even accommodate for.
What I hear is what you needed for your clients is that extra control over how you sync every individual piece
Yeah,
of information so it's correct in both platforms. Also having that bi-directional connection, and obviously also the sync actually working and
yeah,
doing its job so you don't have to manually correct it and go in and have to look through endless reports.
exactly. Yeah, because that's something that we haven't discussed yet, but like a lot of these native integration, you have to babysit in a way where you have to go in quite regularly and like check up on it and see like, oh, I have like 50 orders that haven't been processed because like you're missing a sync with taxes or X, Y, and Z. And like, oh, this is interesting. Good to know because like I have a full-time job already.
Mhm.
I do not want to go back into that QuickBook integration and like manually sync all these orders. Like this is the reason why I installed that connector to begin with, was to make my life easier, and it's actually not. So,
Right. So just to clarify, by native integrations, what do you mean? Because technically, MyWorks is also a native integration to
right,
e-commerce platforms. So what do you mean
right.
by native integrations?
Okay, to me, my works with, and that's fine. That's interesting because we don't have the same like language. But like to me, my works will always be like a third party because QuickBook is not you. You're acting as a third party to facilitate that connection. So to me, when I'm speaking of native, I'm talking about the QuickBook online app that you would download from the Shopify App Store. Or like I don't know if Zero has one, but like if they did, the Zero app that Zero actually developed for Shopify.
Okay, right. So the accounting platform's own integration that they,
Exactly.
okay, gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, in a way you're right because you're not like everything is in Shopify. So are you built for Shopify? I
Yeah,
forgot to ask. You are.
Shopify.
Yay. Okay, cool. So yeah, actually you are native in that sense. To me, like from an agency standpoint, makes me feel much more secure when there's actually like a vetted app in the App Store that's like, oh, Shopify has actually reviewed this app. Like it's a vetted process basically. It just this app is actually a great app and it's recommended, and it makes me feel much more secure because I don't know if that's the case. I'm assuming it's the case for all agencies, but like our clients trust us and they're trusting us as their advisors, and we have that responsibility to make good choices on their behalf. Because obviously, if an app actually doesn't work or doesn't do what we wanted it to do, they're not going to blame the app, they're going to blame us. So we have to do a good job. And that goes back to my initial point of like having like a very tight tech stack because we have that responsibility to figure out the best tools. And we have like, there's this potential drawback of like client being unhappy with the choices that we made. And so we don't add a lot of new apps in the tech stack except if that app has been really vetted and we have like actual proof that this solves an issue and this is something that we've tested and tried and is ready to be suggested to a bunch of new merchants.
Yeah, you're right. I guess it really like it's good to hear actually that it adds that extra layer of confidence for you and your clients because it is a whole process to get the build for Shopify
Yeah.
back. It's not just something that you get overnight and then it's done.
Yeah.
It's constant reiteration and like making sure your app is performing the best out of all the apps out there, and that it's instantly compatible with any Shopify update. So it's good to hear that, that's kind of recognized and builds that confidence in the product.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Yeah, great. So going back to the solutions that you have tried, what were those? So we covered the QuickBooks and Zero, like native developed by those tools
Yeah.
integration. What about any other ways to integrate accounting and e-commerce? Have you been through any other solutions?
We have, and those were the trenches. We've tried a few like custom solutions using Zapier and Make, which are two like tools that would allow you to connect basically to the we don't have client using Zero. Like I'm using that example, but honestly, we only have clients using QuickBook. This is very widespread. I do believe it's because QuickBook is translated in French, and French is our main language here in Quebec, and so I think, and I don't, maybe Zero is too, I don't know, but a lot of clients tend to favor QuickBook. So for the rest of this call, I will use QuickBook as my example. Um, but yeah, you're basically connecting as a QuickBook developer to their API, and you're selecting all these like manual action to build essentially a code base of actions that you would target. If this happens, then you do this, and this happens. The
Right.
drawback of these, so like the benefit of this solution is you have 100% control of what you're building. You can build whatever you want, and you can create very niche, um, not necessarily segmentation per se, but like very niche, like path that a transaction can follow, like very specific, and you can get to the nitty gritty of what happens if an order contains X item. You want it to be treated in a different way in QuickBook than you would if an order would contain another type of item. So this allowed us to build something very, very custom to the client that we were working with. But the drawback of that solution was it took 2 months to actually just be able to process anything, because you have to build the solution and then you have to go through this massive QA process, because nobody's testing your thing for you. Like when you're using MyWorks, like it took me 15 minutes to set it up, but it took us 2 months with Make because we had to test everything. We were building it, so we didn't know if it was going to work or if these were the right properties or the right actions, or oh, actually you can't use this with this because QuickBook, it's not in the same bucket of information, so they're not actually compatible to use together, and it was a real headache. We had to chat with Make, we had to chat with QuickBook. I'm sure once you set it once and it's working, you could probably duplicate it, but I'm oftentimes thinking from a merchant perspective, and like the merchant will not be setting this up 17 times. Like they will be setting it up for only their business. The only advantage of doing the work initially and like benefiting from learning on other projects is just from the agency side. But yeah, those are the two drawbacks, and the third, and I would say the most important drawbacks, is the financial aspect, because you're paying for actions. So every time you're syncing something, for example, editing an order. If you're using the QuickBook integration, if you're syncing an order and you're making a modification on QuickBook, it's not syncing back to Shopify, right? And so if you're modifying an order in QuickBook and you're using Make to do this, Make has to go through all the line items to make sure everything else stayed the same. And so you're paying for all these actions because they're going through the line item. And for that particular client, they were at a low price point per item. And so a lot of orders had 30 to 50 items, line items in their order. So you have to pay for all of these 50 line items to I don't know, 50 cents, 3 cents, I don't know, per line every time. So that client, I mean, when we stopped using Make, I think our monthly invoice was around 1,000.
Mm.
And if we were to use MyWorks today, it would have been like top tier 99, but that would be it. So, like, imagine it's a economy of scale.
Yeah, that's quite a big difference. And I guess with that make setup, you don't really have a support team to call for that
Nope,
exact workflow that you created. You don't have anyone to like
they
support
don't
you.
know.
Yeah, it's
Because
it's just
these,
your product and
yeah,
your workflow.
like Make and Zapier have like tens of thousands of integrations. Like they don't know QuickBooks specifically because they have HubSpot and they have Shopify and they have Meta. They have all these tools there in between intermediary of different. tools to help set up and connect things that would not normally connect, but ultimately ended up being very time consuming, not very efficient, and very costly.
Right. You mentioned already that it took you about 15 minutes to set up MyWorks. What was the learning curve?
Yeah, I feel like, as I mentioned, like accounting is, you cannot mess it up. So for this particular app, I definitely use the documentation myself. Oftentimes with like other types of app, I will attempt to set it up as best as I can on my own. But for MyWorks, I, as a good little student, followed all the guides available and set it up. But honestly, except for the taxes, that took me a few tests to figure out with QuickBooks, are they syncing? And it's just because we have the levels in Canada of like federal tax, and some provinces have a hybrid tax and some other provinces have provincial and federal tax separate. The rest was like fairly easy. Labeling was very well. We are like a UX agency, and so UX is very important for us. Everything was well set up. You have very clear labels of like where you need to click to like fill out informations. I'm on the agency side. I'm not a big fan of over assisted type onboarding where you literally can't do anything on your own and you have to go through the process. I'm sure from the merchant perspective, they may have their opinion. From the agency side, I hate that with a passion. So I like to have that autonomy, but have clear help signs available for me to find additional information if need be. It was top tier onboarding in the sense of everything worked very smoothly. I was able to set up everything, and we had very few questions that we had to answer with you or with the client. From my end, like it was very quick and very easy.
Well, going back to the example with other connectors that
Yeah.
you've used, whether that's the connectors developed by QuickBooks or the ones that you had to build yourself through Make and Zapier, what would you say the differences are? Like if you had to draw a direct comparison between the cost and time to set up those integrations and the cost and time to set up MyWorks.
I would say like the QuickBook app itself is very easy. Like it's literally a one pager. If my memory serves, it's a one pager. So in terms of ease to set up, very easy, but it's very also cheap because it's free. So obviously for some smaller merchants, I mentioned earlier, like merchants that are transitioning from a traditional model, so they are transitioning from having no fees. So just the Shopify fee itself and potentially the Shopify POS fee, these are all new fees that they have not accounted for. And so every app needs to like be thought about like, oh, is this useful to add to their tech stack and their monthly bill? And so that's why the QuickBook integration app is very used, even though it's not very good because it's free. So you cannot really complain because it's free. But the drawback is literally you're sending information into a black box and you're getting nothing back in return. I don't even know if they're processing returns and refunds. I may be wrong, but I don't remember if they do, but regardless, we're moving on to better and better solutions. For Make, the cost is a big drawback. Action-based connectors are a nightmare if you have a lot of actions. So cost and times are two drawbacks, and the only benefit of that solution is you can do what you want the way you want it. If you know how to, you can do what you want. And the main benefit of MyWorks is the fact that you have a wide range of price points. So you, even if you're at a smaller scale, MyWorks makes sense, and we scale with you, and we're able to accommodate you when you're at a Shopify Plus B2B scale of business. Like we're there every step of the way, which I appreciate because it allows me versatility as an agency to offer this solution to a bunch of different merchants that are at a different point in their journey online. And obviously the time to set up. Is there a drawback? Nah, I can't find one. I don't know.
That's what we're
No?
aiming for, at least.
Yeah.
It's always good to have honest opinions, but we're aiming for no drawbacks, so that's good to
Yeah.
hear.
I mean, no drawbacks that I can think of in the projects that I've managed. Yeah.
Okay, so from your experience with Zapier and Make setups, what is the cost there? You said it's about $1,000 a month if you're
For
building.
us, that like we were processing, I would say, I think we at that time we were processing around like 3,000 orders a month. It's been a long time, but I think we were processing around like 500 to 1,000 B2B orders that were using the Make integration. The problem with this is that it's all or nothing. You cannot use the QuickBook app to sync the initial order and just use Make to do one specific action. Like for us, you probably could do that. I don't want to like say something. I wasn't the one who integrated the tool. Like I managed the project, but I'm not a developer. Like I'm not a technical person on my team. But for us, it didn't make sense for the client to have 17 tools to manage his accounting. And so we made the decision to migrate all QuickBook actions to Make. So that implied the initial order sync, order edited, refund, returns, all of that had to be processed through Make. And so that created like a minimum of 4 routes, and then in those routes you have all these different actions that you need like for the different payment status and the different fulfillment status. And so when you look at like the pricing page of a Zapier or a Make, you're like, oh, this is dirt cheap, right? Because it's like, yeah, you're paying pennies per actions. But I don't think people realize the amount of actions required to manage such complex softwares. Using Zapier or Make to do like quick, simple thing like, I don't know, you're creating an audience in Klaviyo and you want to sync that audience to HubSpot. All these like baked out of the box connectors that Zapiers and Make have built already that are available in their library, for example. These are the money makers for them, obviously, because these are like the quick, easy things that don't require a lot of actions when you get inside of the connector itself. But QuickBook is another ball game. Their API, it's good, but it's not great in terms of how it's documented either. I mean, they made probably leeway since 2022 when we first integrated with Make, but back then it wasn't like very well documented, and it took us a long time to a good learning curve for us as well to understand how the API works, because ultimately you need to become a QuickBook developer to be able to build that integration, because when you're using Make you need to be a developer of all the tools you want to integrate. The other thing you can do is just pay someone or like an organization that's built a connector like MyWorks. Like you paid people to learn the QuickBook integration to build that connector. And so ultimately it's where you want to put your money. Maybe a custom integration still makes sense for specific types of businesses that have specific niche needs that are not accommodated with MyWorks, but I think the leeway that MyWorks allowed us in our process is more than good enough for a lot of businesses.
If you had to kind of quantify in numbers the cost and time saved by using MyWorks for your clients, what would that be?
I mean, in terms of hours, it's like I don't even want to go there in terms of like it took us 2 months for about, I would say, let's run the numbers here for a second. We invested about like 10 hours a week, okay, for about 8 weeks. So that's 80 hours to set up my Make. And at that point, like it was set up, but it wasn't working. It was there. It was sending out information. It might not be right, but it was sending out information. And with MyWorks, except for the taxes thing, like including the taxes thing, it took us an hour. So basically, you're saving 79 hours to set up the thing. But ultimately, realistically, like we are estimating a 20% efficiency gain for us because it's not just the initial setup. It's, as I've mentioned, the ongoing support and optimization of it. Even with Make or the QuickBook native app, you have to go back and process your transactions. We also, and I've not mentioned this before, but we've also used QuickBooks through an ERP like Sin7. They have their integration, and you have to go in daily, or for some clients that have like fewer transaction, maybe weekly, to process the freaking transaction that have not processed. There are often mistakes of the tax mapping or an item that's not fine in QuickBook inventory. All of these are common issues where you have to actually babysit all of these solutions, and you have to find out why and fix it. And especially with Make, the fun thing is you actually to fix your code base like regularly to be able to figure out why it's not working anymore and why it's not passing through. And if QuickBooks changes their API, well, you're in luck because you have to change your code base too. Inside of Make, nobody's going to do it for you. So in terms of like, if the merchant would go that route, they would have to have a person in-house or an agency to take care of it. And from the agency side, it's not really interesting to set up this type of integration because ultimately the client doesn't hire you to build out new functionalities or new features. They're paying you to just babysit the existing solutions you've implemented. So for the clients with which we've set up MyWorks, we're actually working on other stuff, and we are like out of the gutter of accounting. Accounting is accounted for, like it's set up, it's working, and then we can work on building cool features and implement and scale their online store. Like, yeah,
Amazing. Well, you nailed it there when you said that, accounting is set and you can take care of other things, because that's actually our mission that drives us to do what we do, because we know how important accounting is, but also how tedious it can be.
yeah,
So, if that's working, you can focus on growth and on the more
yeah,
fun.
yeah. What's interesting too is like accounting is very important, and it's all fun and games when you have two orders a month and you have like a small candle business that you do on the side, and it's like, haha, it's my hobby and maybe I'm making a little money. But the second you start actually processing a lot of orders online, mistakes accumulate, you know? You cannot get out of it because if you're like, oh, I mean, it's not that important, right? Don't you worry, the government will care. Don't you worry. They will figure out what's wrong, and then you'll have to. Catherine of the future will not be happy with Catherine of the past who didn't set up MyWorks properly. Let's do it properly and well day one so we can focus on everything else. And accounting is important, but sort of boring. If we set it up good, it's like it doesn't have to be boring. It's working well, so we can be happy about accounting and accounting doing their thing.
Exactly. Okay, well, when it comes to like specific features that MyWorks has, is there anything that stands out, anything that you've enjoyed particularly?
Once I figured it out, tax mapping was quite nice.
Awesome.
Yeah, but like it's nice to have that. It's very granular and like very detailed, and I like the table view where you can go back at if at some point you're like, oh, did I set it up this, did I set it up well? You can go back and you can actually make sure your things are set up well, and you have that possibility to expand to new markets with like in the accounts I manage, we also have like US as a market, and so you have that table for the US, and if you eventually incorporate your business in the US, then you can have that granular table as well per state. And I did like the fact that you can map like all the different types payment methods to different accounts. So you can also have like I know um, I haven't talked to clients about that recently, but 2023 used to be the year of gift cards, okay? And I'll be very brief, but gift cards are a mess, if we're being honest, because people pay you in advance, and that money will be, it's in your account at some point, but the gift card can actually be used at any point in time. And so you have that, you should be able to manage your gift cards separately from your actual income. So it's nice to be able to split out these different payment methods and actually have the fact that you can have different accounts for different methods and have the possibility to do it. It's available to you and it's not a limitation is nice. Not a lot of clients have like different accounts for Visa and MasterCards and Shop Pay and everything, and that's fine. But the fact that you can grow into these features is nice.
Having that wealth of knowledge that you now have through the trials and tribulations of e-commerce accounting integration at Maze, what would you say to anyone who is at the beginning of that journey and who is looking at their options for integrating their Shopify store and their accounting platform?
Just do it. Find the solution that works for you. You don't have to get accounting to find a good solution to connect the two. The resources are there if you need help to figure it out. There is help available to set up if you need, if you're not confident in the way you've set it up, but it's just you have to do it. It's one of those things that it's unsexy, but you have to do it. Once you've done it, like you'll be happy you did it. It's done, it's connected, it's working. So make good choices for accounting and choose softwares that will make your life easier. It's money well invested.
And for anyone considering specifically MyWorks for integrating their accounting and e-commerce, but they might be on the fence, what would you say to them?
Let me go back. Just do it. Just do it. Come on. Come on in. The water's warm. No, but honestly, you know what? It feels like MyWorks to me feels like very safe and secure in the solution, but at a scale, and maybe that's not the case, and you're just like it's the way you represent yourself online, but you feel very homey and tight-knit community, which I like. It doesn't feel like a very big corp. Maybe you are a very big corp. I don't know. But like you don't feel cold and sterile. Like you feel warm and and close to the people, but also because I think that is something that's very difficult to achieve. So kudos to you, because accounting, oftentimes the solutions for accounting softwares and everything is going that sterile route because they want to imbue confidence in their product, like it's finance, like this is the way it's gonna be done, and which is fine. But I like the fact that I feel like I can actually speak to someone, and it's not like AI blabber or like just endless loop in a forum. Accounting is too important to not get answers. I want to be able to talk to someone via email, chat, whatever, and get the answers I'm looking for to set it up properly because the consequences are big. So it needs to be set up properly, and I need to be heard on an individual basis too. These are my problems with my accountings, and this is how I want to get it done. I'm not a number. Like I want to get real insights and feedback from someone. So that's what I appreciate the most. Go,
Don't
MyWorks, go.
Yeah, that's super valuable feedback. And I'm super grateful for this feedback because that's always been our aim. Like we don't want accounting to be intimidating. It's already intimidating enough.
Yeah.
It's already hard enough. We want to make it simple. We want to automate it, give the tools that work to everyone and provide the support that people need through real person-to-person human support rather than AI chatbots. So we're all about that, and I'm happy that it comes across.
Listen, the goal ultimately, and I know like for a lot of businesses this is not the goal, but ultimately if I don't think about my works, your job is done. Your work is done here. If I don't have to think about you, it means your job is well done. Because it means it's working, the sync is happening, the data is pushing from one platform to the other. I don't have to reach out to people, and my thing is working. When I need to think about you, it's when I have a problem. But like ultimately, you shouldn't be top of mind in a way in the day-to-day operation. If the tool is working well, it should work seamlessly, and I don't have to think about you at all, except when we have these conversations or I'm looking to implement new features or new optimization or actually scale my business and open up new market. And then I have like new questions that I want to explore with you and the software. But like other than that, you should be in the background
Mm.
and just working well.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today about your experience with MyWorks. And yeah, we're really looking forward to seeing you in Toronto next year.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, it was a pleasure and a blast. Thank you for inviting me, and I'm happy to gas you up at any other time. I love you guys. You're the best.
If you'd like to learn more about integrating e-commerce and accounting with MyWorks, check out the link in the description and book a personalized demo with us.